Louis Phillips, thank you for joining me, man.
Thanks for having me, mate.
Steak before a podcast.
Oh, it's
On it
good.
or off it?
I'm so on it. Someone came up to me the other day and said on it or off it about something, and I looked straight through them, had no idea what they're talking about. But for those that don't know, I have a podcast called On It Off It, and we pick things that we're on and off.
That was at a wedding, wasn't it?
That was at a wedding, yeah.
You said
that was
that on a
New
podcast
Year's.
as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. She came up to me, she goes, "Oh, are you on or off the saxophone?" And I thought, what? So, excuse me? And then it clicked.
Did you give her like one of the your brother handshake?
Yeah,
afterwards?
yeah. My guy.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
You did a comedy set or a comedy. What do you call it? A comedy set.
Stand up.
Stand up.
I did 5 minutes of stand up.
Talk to me about that.
Brutal. So with that podcast, we had a challenge. Ferg, my co-host and comedian, he had to run a marathon with pretty much no training. This is during the Melbourne Marathon. And if he completed that, then I would do, we said a minute of stand-up comedy and we did it. He did the marathon and then I had to do the stand-up set. And it was pretty funny. It was at one of his shows. It's called The Inflate Show. And it's like, the comedians do, a couple of minutes of stand up and then you sit on a panel and like have a conversation, discussion. It's a late show, so it's 10 p.m. And I was so nervous. I was shitting myself the whole time. But I had all my friends in the front row, mum and dad, a couple rows back, and it was pretty hilarious.
What did you learn about yourself doing that?
I don't know. Oh, good question. I haven't really thought that deep into it, but it was certainly like eye-opening in terms of like the fear I kind of put on myself beforehand. I like kind of really wound it up to be this nerve-wracking experience. But once I was in there and underway, I was fine. I also think there's a big thing in preparation. Like you can never do enough preparation.
Did you prepare for it?
I did, yeah. Ferg helped me write a few jokes, but I could have memorised my lines a bit better because I got up there. Firstly, the lights are so bright. My hand was shaking, so I'm not seeing anything. So if I knew kind of at least the start of each sentence, then I would have been off and racing, but I was a bit shaky at the start.
Were there any fears that came up, I guess, that you associate with, and this is like sort of a completely different topic, but like your early childhood, I guess, because that's a topic that I do want to focus on today.
Sure.
Was there anything that, was any form of correlation to that at all? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, firstly, I'm not good at reading. I'm not diagnosed. I'm pretty sure I'm dyslexic. I've got ADHD, auditory I've got it all. And in younger years, it was a big struggle for me. Later years, I've learned to deal with it. In fact, embrace it. But with the comedy thing, I think that's anything public speaking or reading anything out, I get very nervous because I know I'm going to muck it up, and I think that creates kind of a spin wheel or a cycle where I muck it up even more. So, yeah, definitely.
Is that because you're just constantly overthinking it, perhaps?
Yeah, I'd say so. Like if I'm in flow state, I don't overthink it. If I've had like 2 beers, let's say, I can read anything. But could present to a crowd. It's like the old thing, with concentration. I remember teachers saying to mum and dad, "Oh, he won't concentrate. He's not concentrating. He's got ADHD." They were seeing me concentrate for 3 hours on the PS3 at home very easily, locked in. So I think, depends on what I'm interested in.
Your mum said that you would come home and say you hated school.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think... So I just struggled at school my whole life, really struggled academically. Firstly, like not a bad kid in terms of at home. I was nice. Around people, I was nice. Loved having a laugh. But then I think I just like the content and everything I was learning, I was so uninterested in, and I was not in a system that kind of was good for my learning ability. So I think that just created such a negative connotation with it.
Yes, yeah. I was saying to your dad that I was actually triggered. I was triggered by what you went through because I didn't. When I was growing up, I didn't. There wasn't anything that was addressed to me.
Yeah.
To potentially harness what we had potentially and use it in a good way. It was sort of just like deal with it until it got so bad. and then something had to change. And I was like you at school, like I really, really struggled.
Yeah, and that's like I remember being in my situation and being like, oh, you know, almost wish I didn't know I had all these problems. Like I wish I didn't. But then the issue with that is I'm even more in the dark about where I'm at. I remember just like repeating to myself constantly, I'm so fucking dumb. Like I'm so stupid. Like, I can't do that. I can't do anything that these kids in class are doing. You know, I remember looking like a times table sheet, being like, there's no way I can memorize that. And then, you know, mum and dad, particularly dad, he's a teacher, so I was super lucky in that front. But he'd always say, you just learn differently. I used to almost like hate that. Like I hate that I learned differently. But as I got older, you come to, you know, appreciate that. I love that I learned differently.
I remember you said in another podcast, you described it as that if you're told something so much that you are something, then you just end up believing it. So for you to tell or say that you are dumb, I'm assuming there's no other alternative.
100%. And you label yourself as that. And then I think, you know, you're in class. Like I had the best people around me in school. Like my mates they never got into me for being stupid or anything. I got into myself. And they couldn't care less. But I told myself that enough. And then I became, you know, the kind of the class clown, all of that stuff. And, you know, a bit of a flywheel. But I was so lucky because my parents were so relaxed about it all. Like I remember, you know, coming out of year 12 being like, oh, I've got to go to uni. And mum and dad are like, there's no way you're allowed to go to uni for at least a year. Like you need to take a gap year. You need to chill out. Just think about it. You don't have to do like I was lucky enough to go to a private school, but, you know, you don't have to go the private school way.
Which is different. I mean, most parents are get straight to uni and get that piece of paper and off you go. Yeah,
which is almost like, you'd know it, like I'm 26 now and I see people coming out of school. Firstly, like they're so young and I love the energy, but also like this panic that is put on them about quick get in uni and then get a job and then work your job and then retire and die. It's like awful life, not for me.
100%. The fear of failure and doubting, like sense of self-doubt and everything, do you reckon that was established at that young age then, do you think, as well?
Maybe, yeah. I think so. Fear of failure, I think, is like, yeah, definitely something that's like the thing with these things is like I'm not, you know, I haven't like thought about it deeply where I can kind of articulate myself properly on it. But yeah, potentially that's where I'd say it was less of a fear of failure. It was like more of a fear of starting, which I suppose eventuates in a fear of failure. But yeah, probably started around then for sure.
Your dad said to me that you often asked him what you should do when you were younger. And he said to you, just go out and make a difference.
Nice.
Do you feel like you have made a difference?
Not enough. Want more. Yeah, I'd say making a difference is definitely like the thing that I want to do the most. And that's why I do what I do. And, you know, having the right people in your corner is what it's all about. So mum and dad and sister always in my corner and, you know, relentlessly. And so when I am becoming more successful in whatever field it is, I'm kind of surprised all the time. Oh shit, this happened, and they just knew it would happen. So
you haven't talked about your sister much in other conversations.
Yeah,
talk to me about her.
Yeah, well, she's definitely like one of my best mates. Her and I are like so tight and always have been. I always remember looking at other siblings, still do, who just like loathe each other and wondering like why you guys could you're 2 years apart. You could literally be best buddies. So like Mad's like really close through school. When I left school, she was 2 years older, so she's obviously left school as well. Like her friends and my mates would hang out. You know, I went to like my first festival with her. She showed me the ropes of it all. And the knock-on effect of that was like all my friends, you know, got shown the ropes of kind of being an adult and looking after your mates and all that sort of thing. So yeah, she's great and very lucky to have her.
Your dad described you together. It's like you couldn't have had a different. So she was very, from what he said, very academically inclined, let's just say. Like very, 100%. Very switched on and you were just like, you know, doing your own thing.
Yeah. Like And you know what? It's probably on her that I had so much doubt of myself, because I remember seeing her like read something, pick it up straight away, and she's done. Whereas if I had to read something, I have to read it 10 times before I can, rote learn it or memorize it. But yeah, she's just like so very academic and excelling in her like advertising career, and she's built for the system.
That is like how I remember it as well. Like I stopped maths in year 11.
Yeah.
And I actually year 10, I actually don't think I did a test and didn't cheat.
Yeah, really. Yeah.
I was always at the back.
Delegate, mate.
I could not. I just couldn't. But when I went to uni, I had to do a finance degree, and I thought that if you didn't do the finance degree, you couldn't go on exchange. So I went out, got a teacher, and actually locked in and figured out how to do it.
Nice.
Would you see that as a similar mindset that you've got?
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If I can delegate, I will. And if I can get someone better doing the job than me, then I will do that 100% of the time. Because I feel like I can get so bogged down on these stupid little tasks that someone else could do in 10 seconds, and it's like, even just trying to enroll in uni, like that is such a process. So I think I'm going back to uni this semester just to keep my degree going.
Agribusiness.
And and even just trying to enroll in uni, I'm like, I don't even understand. And so I get Izzy, my girlfriend, over, and she helps me out. She's great at it. I'm like, this is perfect. I'll cook dinner or something. You do you, I'll do me.
For anyone that's also got, but maybe if there's a younger person listening that's got that sense of self-doubt, I guess, and they're, whether it's ADHD or anything, what would your advice be to them?
I think like the importance of just keeping going. It's so cliche, and I hate for it to sound so cliche, but just ticking away, just keep working away. Like your time will come. I think knowing that is the case there's a lot of comfort in it, and it might not be straight after school. It might not be after uni. Like it might be when you're 30, 40. That's fine. But if you just keep ticking away and keep showing up, like that is 90% of it. And I think if anything, that's what I did well, particularly coming out of school, like wasn't in the popular group at school, had me and my best mate, Jesse, Steve and a few others. But particularly Jesse and I just stuck together, and we just like chipped away, worked away. And I think there was a lot of noise around us. But we're still going, we're still chipping away and working away. So if you're that kid and, like funny guy, a bit of a class clown, whatever, or you're not in the, popular group, or like you just got to keep going and it will hit one day.
I think I heard someone talk about like these people that get like a massive amount of fame in a relatively short amount of time. And then you compare that to yourself, someone that's been chipping away for so long, they actually know how to deal with things that come their way. I'm assuming when you sort of blew up, you use the word blew up, that you would have had people come to you in every angle. Whereas if that happened now, and maybe it still does, but you're a lot better at sort of harnessing.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. And you need all those fuck ups along the way to be able to deal with it later on. Yeah, exactly. It's like if you had fame when you were 16 and just everything at once, like if someone offered you $100 million, like you'd lose it in a week. Yeah. Whereas like if you've gone and lost $100, you've made a small bad investment here and there, you're building up this kind of shield of knowledge so that when you are ready to go, you're good to go. You
see that video of Justin Bieber the other day?
Nope.
Oh, well, there's heaps of videos, but like he was just like out the front of his house, and he was just like, "This is my home. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah,
please.
Yeah,
I just want peace. Like imagine if I came and it's just like, and I think you talked about it, the difference between Drake and the guy that owns Gymshark.
Oh yeah, well that was
that was
Chris Griffin brought it up. Hey, yeah.
That's Oh, fuck off. So yeah, basically Drake, you couldn't go anywhere, whereas this guy could.
Yeah.
Interesting. Like, would you want that
Would you
level
want
of fame?
Gymshark or Drake? Yeah. I mean, both comes with stress, doesn't it? Because the Diary CEO, like he brought it up in that pod where it's like, yeah, but the Gymshark guy has to make payroll every week or month. And that's 10x stress to having some photos taken of you.
Chris Williamson also said, we procrastinate because we don't look bad. Our fear of failure stops us from doing things. You are afraid of failure, but by procrastinating, you guarantee failure. You insulate yourself from failure publicly by certifying your failure privately. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, well, fear of failure, isn't it? Like that's what's going to stop most people from doing anything. But I think it's so important, and like you need to embrace it because if you're not, if no one was failing, it'd just be so easy. It's like if you're starting a business, like there's so many little hoops to jump through that are like just so annoying, such like annoying little contract things to set up, annoying website things to do. And all of those little hurdles literally just weed out people who don't want to be there. And one of those ones is the fear of failure. Like, yeah, you probably will fail. But the thing is, it's like being cancelled. You're only cancelled or you only fail if you stop, aren't you? So just keep chipping away. And it's like, we spoke about it for the podcast, but you do have to, particularly in business, like you're going to have to be pragmatic in your thinking and understand if you are climbing the wrong ladder. Like you can do a mountain of work in the wrong direction and it's useless. So there needs to be some level of being able to take a bird's eye view of your situation and go, hang on, am I doing the right thing?
Do you do that on yourself now?
Yeah, I try to as much as I can. Like, with interval, let's say, there's definitely early days where like, running up market, pretty saturated. Like, is this a bad idea? And, we're investing a fair bit of cash into that. So like, let's think pragmatically about it. And if we ended it, it would be so like, people would be like, you failed, like you gave up. But it's like, no, well, hang on. It's just we're climbing the wrong ladder. But we haven't had to do that because we think interval is on a winner.
I remember you said on another conversation that you were going to do a marathon and then you pulled out publicly. So you ended up doing a marathon and an ultra marathon the same week. So it sounds like that is a driving force to do better, let's just say.
Yeah, what in terms of
just other people's perception of you, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Well, in the content game particularly, like it kind of has to be. But yeah, that was a funny one. It was I did the Bali Ultra and then I had already enrolled in the Great Ocean Road Ultra. So it was a back-to-back ultra in a week and my body is fine, got through absolutely fine, but I was pretty decimated after. But yeah, that fear of failure and it's all in there.
I wasn't going to bring this up, but I literally just got a flashback to you guys because I was obviously studying Charlie when he came on.
Yeah.
Studying. It sounds a bit ridiculous.
Yeah.
I remember him, he just finished that ultra marathon.
Yeah.
And I literally, when you said that, just got a flashback to you guys finishing.
Yeah.
That embrace at the end was a different type of embrace.
Oh, mate.
Can you remember like crossing that line?
Oh, yeah, I can remember. Actually, yeah, I think I can remember it myself. I can see the footage now. Yeah, so, you've just done 12 and a half hours in the Bali forest, 4,000 meters of elevation, and then like literally tears at times. Like we're all in tears. Can you think of like three grown men like running kind of in tears? Like
why are you crying?
Because it hurts so bad. And like you're in pain, like you're so far away, it's so hot. Yeah. And you're kind of in tears about like why have I done this to myself? And then you kind of feel sympathy for yourself. I don't know, it's an interesting one. And then we get to the end and that feeling is just like elation, relief. And then mum's there, she's in tears, I'm in tears. Ultra marathons, mate. Not for me.
Mate, I'll tell you what.
One and done for me.
I was going to say, I remember you saying on another chat, that's it.
I don't need to do too many of those. More?
And I think you also said that your first marathon was also technically an ultra marathon.
Yeah, somehow. Well, it was over 42,
but
that's not counted in Victoria. So,
on this topic of fear of failure and self-doubt and everything, I heard you say, I think it was when you had the Louis Phillips podcast.
Yeah.
It's So I listened to all of them
There's
as
been
well.
multiple iterations.
Yeah, I
Sorry.
listened to that as well.
Yeah.
And you started a podcast in a really interesting way. And you said, as I get older, I appreciate friends and peers who are doing something different. I'm 9 years out of school and it's strikingly rare to connect with a past student who isn't in the consulting, accounting or corporate world. That's not to take away from any of the above. They're important careers and they require certain types. That resonated with me a lot. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, I do actually. I do remember. It's a good pickup. Yeah. The school I went to, it's like you're meant to go to school, uni, do economics, and then straight into like a Big Four accounting. And as I said in the podcast, I think that's great for some people. But for a lot of us, that is not the way to go. And then on top of that, like I meet a lot of my friends are in that world and they're so miserable. And it's just like, we just accept it. It is literally, that's what rattles me and my housemates and a lot of my friends is like just the acceptance of it. It's like, yep, this is me for the next 60. This is what dad did, so I gotta. And it's like not even like they're just there to climb the ranks. And that's not even guaranteed anymore. So that whole world, I think, terrifies me. Not that I would ever do it, but just seeing the misery.
Do you have people come to you and say, I have this dream, I want to do this, I want to do that? Do you have that a lot?
Often, yeah, particularly around the content thing.
Yeah.
I'll always have people wanting me to like check out their new content, like as in that they haven't uploaded. Or even before that, I often always get asked, can we go for a coffee so we can chat about like how I can start content, which is fine. Like I'm more than happy to do it, but it's always the same conversation of them just needing to hear it from me saying, yes, you should do content. Because I don't know, you could be massive. You could be so much, you could be the next big thing, or it could flop. And there's a good chance it'll flop for the first 4 years. So buckle up.
In the early days of my content journey, let's just say, I had really good advice from someone. Sorry, I reached out to someone who has a massive platform, like
Cool.
close to 1 million subs on YouTube.
Wow.
And he travels around and just does content. Ridiculous. And I went to school with him, he's my age, and he said, I called him for advice and, we had an hour chat and he goes, I could see in that call that you were going to do something, but I still wanted to see that you did it. So there's so many people that come to me and they say, I want to do this, I want to do that. I'll have that initial call with them, but after that, that's it.
Yeah.
Cut it off.
Yeah.
I'll see if they do it. If they act, I'll give them a second call. And now I can call him on a whim's notice because obviously I've had a crack.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's about, isn't it? That's the way to go because, I've had so many. And it comes back to the fear of failure because all these people are so scared of failing. And what's even scarier than just failing is failing publicly. Like I've had so many mates, old footy mates from like under 14s. Hey, Louis, I'm thinking about doing it. Like, love your stuff. I haven't spoken to them in, 15 years. And it's like, go, bro, do it. Get out there. But then I think to myself, like, I know the people you're around. I know the circle. Like, you are going to get smashed by your mates. No chance you're going to start it. I hope you do, though.
You're not afraid of failing. You're afraid of what other people will think of you if you fail. But if you're afraid of that, imagine what they will think of you when you aren't even trying. Oh, yeah, they aren't.
It's great.
You get that one?
Yeah.
Basically means that imagine what they think of you when you aren't even trying. So it's like they're basically thinking, because I always put posts out sometimes, like imagine what those people think. And then it's almost like they're not thinking that. And I sometimes get caught up in content and everything. And obviously there's an element of strategy, I'm assuming, to what you do as well.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But there isn't also there, I could have posted it 1 million times. Some of the posts you think will do shit, they end up going. Like I did one the other day that was like, it was basically a raw steak.
Yeah.
It's got 101,000 likes on TikTok.
Really?
3 million views or something. And I'm like, I can't post this because it's raw.
Yeah.
And then I posted it, said the perfect medium raw steak.
Yeah.
It went bonkers. Like it's got 4,000 comments. And it's funny, those videos don't really correlate to anything on your account. Because the ones that go mega viral don't really, and that's another perception as well. Like a lot of times people see all these numbers, like people comments on some of my stuff, and there's the perception that this, just because you got followers, that your life is like so peaceful. I don't think it could be further from the truth.
Nah, not at all.
You resonate with that as well?
Yeah, for sure as well. It's same with like the cash thing in terms of like if you're making money from content, it's like, oh, you're just getting all this money from ads. It's like you need to reinvest all of it back into making content. Like it's not the most lucrative game there is. But yeah, it's, you know, it's the posting thing and what people think. I think as the producer of your page, let's say, like if you're putting out content, you think that, you know, let's say I've got 200,000 followers, you think every 200,000 of them are seeing every single post. It's just not how the algorithm works. So it's like, that's why you should re-upload. So why you should, like, if you're trying to promote a product, like you need to be pumping it and making sure everyone sees this thing. You know, it's the same for like when you're starting out. If you think and care what people think, like it's going to be a bit of a longer road, but it's naturally going to happen. Can
you think of a time where, let's just say, the overthinking was at an all-time high and you were just like, what the hell am I doing? Has that ever happened?
Yeah, for sure. It was probably school days, to be honest. Likely. I'm trying to think other than that. You know, maybe like once I exited 9 to 5 fitness and I was like, oh, what am I doing? But it didn't last too long. I figured it out pretty quick, to be honest.
Take me back to school days. What did that look like?
Well, I mean, it'll just be like literally I'm at school and I feel so dumb and I have no idea. Like all these people are going to go like be rocket scientists and I can barely, you know, I can't even spell my name. I could spell my name.
How do you think your parents harnessed what you had then?
Yeah, well, they just leaned into the whole creative thing and like backed me for who I am. I think as well, like they kind of laughed a bit at the school that, like the school I went to, I was very lucky, so great. But like mum said to me the other day, like I got pulled in to a like intervention with, mum said there was 10 teachers there. And she's like, it's like you had murdered someone. And it's because I was talking in class or something. And she's like, just the, you know, and I need to be serious and everything, but get into the real world, you know, wake up a little. And that was good to hear. But yeah, and mum and dad knew that there's so much more out of school than just school. Like I was lucky enough to go back to my school recently and do a little chat to like a small group at lunch, which was awesome for me to do and so lucky. And to be able to go back and see the school I went to, I was like, wow, I'm so lucky to see the care, particularly in the teachers that they had for the students was amazing. But I remember getting there and there was one teacher and she'd been there for like 30 years and she walked up to me, she goes, I have no idea who you are. Like looks me dead in the eye. She goes, I have no idea who you are. She's like, do you remember me? And I was like, this is a weird intro. I was like, yeah, I think so. Like, yeah, you taught me. And she's like, oh, well, I don't know who you are. And it was like the weirdest interaction I've ever seen. But she's been institutionalized. She's been doing, you know, the Wesley way since she was 20. So like, of course she's going to be a little bit like intense about if you've got your shirt untucked because it's been so drilled into her that if anyone's walking around without a shirt untucked, get to them. Let's get we need a 10-person panel. So it's like, it was such a good eye opener because I was like, oh, teachers, not only are they human, but they can become institutionalized as well. And so like, yeah, back to what you were saying, you know, like that feeling a bit lost and that fear of failure stuff. Like, yeah, there's a lot of that at school, probably sped up and on the flywheel of school. But once I realised, and mum and dad completely knew there's so much more to life than just school.
I just got a flashback when you said you had the intervention.
Yeah.
So I had that as well, man.
Nice. Multiple I had, yeah.
Yeah, I was sitting with the deputy principal.
Yep.
And I've never said this, I would have never said this in public, but I remember mum like crying.
Yeah, shame.
And I was the firstborn. So it's almost, I think it went back on her. She's like, what have I done wrong? And I think that was the turning point. But they weren't like they weren't teachers. Like they'd never gone through anything like that before.
Yeah.
Something that stood out to me before, you said a teacher came up to you. I had a teacher come up to me when I finished, and she goes, "I can't believe you turned out the way you did when I finished."
In a good way, or?
Yeah, in a good way.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because I turned it around and applied myself. But then that got me. It
gets in your head.
The way exactly, like everything you say, like, and I don't think people understand what that is like.
Yeah.
Like, it is intense because like everything people says, and it's like that. It's like that. I heard someone say, like, if you were to say something to me and it hits me and it affects me right there, I walk around for 4 weeks and I'm mulling that around in my head for 4 or 5 weeks.
Same, yeah.
And you're just living your life like you had no idea. And then you say after that 5 weeks, when it gets to a boiling point, you say to that person, "Remember how you said that a few months ago? Like, that really affected me." I'm not sure if burden's the right word, but far out, man. It's tough.
Yeah, it is. And it's like teachers have such a tough job. Like, I imagine how many just throwaway comments teachers have made where people have just like modeled their whole life around it. So it's like they have a tough job, and their teachers are human. I mean, I see my dad. He's just a human, and he's teaches heaps of, you know, young guys. Like, just all the throwaway comments that teachers make could affect so many people. But also it's life, isn't it? Like, I can also mull over it, but I think that's the importance of good relationships and, you know, ability to talk about things and get it off your chest. And wait, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the wrong thing? Having someone in your life or multiple people that you can communicate that with is so important.
Who's that person for you?
Jesse, for sure. Like, I'm so lucky. He's my best mate. And like, we catch up every, I think Thursday. He's locked in at the moment, so he can't do it at the moment. But we catch up for coffee.
Locked in?
As in, like, he's grinding. He's studying. He's got a big exam coming up. Okay. But every Tuesday, Thursday, we lock in a coffee shop, and it's like, that's in the calendar. Like, that's when we catch up. And, you know, we catch up for 45 minutes to an hour just before the day starts, really, or, you know, after a bit of work. And it's just great because I will literally go to him. Let's say someone says something, says something to me. I'll be like, "Oh, so-and-so said this to me the other day." Like, God, I actually kind of got in my head. And then we'll chat about it. And then after it, you know, you just feel so much better. So that stuff's important.
Do you get emotional sometimes? Like, do you open up on like a deeper level? Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. We have no trouble kind of telling each other how much we love each other, having deep conversations, talking about, you know, the people we want to be, and, you know, the beautiful aspects of our, you know, separate relationships with our girlfriends and stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
Who do you want to be?
In terms of a boyfriend?
No, just in general.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you said it. Yeah. You talk about who you want to be. Like, is that just in regards to?
Yeah. About like all sorts of different things. I mean, in that regard, like, we'll talk about like the kind of guys we want to be in our relationships with our girlfriends. Okay. Like, you know, steering on the right pathway. I feel this way, but is this wrong? Is it, you know, this and that? Just like kind of just making sure we're always steering the ship in the right direction. Just small, you know, if two ships are going parallel in the same direction, if one's going 5%, you know, right, they'll end up on the other side of the world.
I think Chris Griffin said that.
Was that? I'm pretty sure it's a Chris Williamson.
No. But I think he said that when we spoke.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or someone else.
It's a classic. I've rattled that one off a few times. Yeah. But so yeah, Jesse and I are just kind of always steering the ship in the right direction. The ship of life.
That's powerful, man. Ship of life. That is. I almost wish I had, because I have people that I open up to. But I don't know. I hate bringing it. Like, everyone talks about this lonely chapter thing. Like, it is a thing.
It is.
How you still sort of find, and maybe it's a willingness of me actually even getting there or going there in the first place. Like, it's weird because like I get a lot of people on and talk about how they're feeling and all that sort of stuff. Don't feel like was there a time in your life that you changed and you opened up a lot more? Because I struggle. Like, I've really only started doing it recently because I don't know how I don't even know how you could describe how I was feeling by the end of December.
It's tough, mate.
I was cooked. But you put on a face.
Yeah.
You put on a face and having all these good combos and obviously there's the up and down of a good conversation. Like you're in the thick of it, and you're so energized afterwards, and then guest leaves, and you're like, "Fuck, back to it."
Yeah, here I am.
You know?
Yeah. Particularly, and if you're living on your own, like all that kind of stuff, like it's tough, bro. The lonely chapter one's an interesting one, and it's probably like the thing of social media, I reckon, is like, let's say you look at my social media, it looks like I've got one mate, Tom Pryne, who I love dearly. He's one of my best mates. And then my girlfriend, Izzy, and then I go to the farm every now and then. Like, you wouldn't know I have this whole other side of mates and hanging out with different people and stuff. So, and I think what that does is it kind of creates this image of like the grind culture of I'm locked in all the time. I never unlock. The reason I'm here is because it's like, nah, that's so not the case. I hang out with mates on the weekend. I put a lot of effort and time into cultivating and encouraging the growth of those relationships for the people that I need most. And I've always done that, to be honest. And I think that's served me really well. And I think that's where a lot of men need to be really careful, is like the lonely chapter. I agree, sometimes it needs to happen, but on the same account, you need people, you need mates, you need community. And what's the point if you don't have that? And yeah, you might meet someone at the top when you're rich and famous, but they're all flogs, mate.
You want someone to enjoy the ride with.
Yeah.
I think that whole followers thing is crazy as well. I had someone message me the other day that I followed, and I occasionally just like following small barbecue accounts or something.
Nice, yeah.
And it's hard, or it's easy. Like, I think back and I'm like, oh, that was me like 12 months ago. Like, she messaged me and she goes, thank you so much. And it was good. It was a nice message. But she was like, oh, thanks so much. It's so good to have a bigger account follow me. And I was like, there's no difference between me and you.
Yeah, literally.
Honestly. And I feel like that if someone was to, and you talked about it before, go into your account, they look at your life like, this guy is just living the dream.
That's
he
a
must
highlight
just
reel.
have no worries in the world.
Yeah.
It's not true.
It's so not true.
It's so not true at all. And I think if someone was to find a way, and like I said before, if there was like an Instagram for an effort scale or personal scale, I think it'd be a good way to highlight. And there's only so much that you can show as well.
And like, yeah, exactly. And a lot of it's boring as well, you know, like, and, you know, Instagram is such a highlights reel. Last night I was literally like, Izzy was sleeping over at my house, and I was like just so quiet all night, and she's like, what's wrong? I was like, I'm just so fucking stressed. Like I just rattled all these things that, like, you know, if this happens and this happens and that happens, I'm fucked. You know, and if this doesn't happen, if that, and you know, overthinking and stuff. So, and it's all real. Like, it could all be taken away 100%. But then it's good having people around you who can say, yeah, but what if it is all taken away? Who cares? Like, it doesn't really, if I lost my Instagram, interval failed, I've still got my mates. I've got a pretty good support network. You're going to be fine. But those super stressful times definitely still come to people with a following or whatever. And if not, sometimes I'd imagine that it'd almost be more stress sometimes.
It's like bring it back to the people that blow up overnight, like that Hock Tour girl over there.
Yeah.
Like, I think she's like caught up in this like crypto scam.
Yeah.
Like completely
crazy.
Just happened overnight.
But even the stress she'd be going through,
For sure, 100%.
like she'd be getting smashed.
Oh,
she wouldn't, and she doesn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
I feel bad for her. And also just the scrutiny of like young, poor girl. It's like, oh my God. She said on a podcast, she's a crack baby. So like her parents are like crackheads. So she literally got no one. It's like, oh my God,
it's true.
That sounds awful.
What goes through your head when you think about losing everything?
I think it's like an initial spike of stress for sure, but then I get relaxed pretty quickly. Like, I constantly try and remind myself everything's gonna be okay, and it will be. I'd say if there's one thing I do have, I'm very, very lucky to have. It's been instilled by my parents. Is like, it's never as good as you think it is. It's also never as bad as you think it is. So just kind of just chill out a little bit. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to lose. And it depends what you define as everything. If it's friends and family included, then that's a disaster. That's just not going to happen. But business stuff, then, no worries.
I think it's a good perspective to have, man. Like I'm definitely feeling it at the moment. Like things not working out. But then you look at like if I did lose everything, like, you know, you're not going to end up on the street.
No.
I'm not living on the street.
No.
Honestly. Like, and when you look at it like that, it's like,
You
can really
young.
do anything.
Yeah. But also you're so young. If you lost everything, it's just the first big lesson that you needed. Sweet. It means you're going to be so much better when you come back from that loss.
Do you think that's the main thing for people to overcome that do potentially have a dream that they're not confident enough, let's just say, to chase?
No, I think the biggest thing is the fear of failure. Well, yeah, I mean, same thing, isn't it? But losing everything or just not even getting anything, both are just limiting someone.
It's interesting, man. Like, you look at the majority of Australians and it's like, you talked about it as people that are doing something different to the norm. Like, when will that be part of the culture? Like, you know, can you teach entrepreneurship at school? Like, is there something that can be done to sort of shift? And it's a wild topic, but
yeah, maybe. I don't think that culture, that tall poppy syndrome thing will ever go away.
Yeah.
But I think as well it's great because it means people are terrified to do anything, which just means there's more space for people who don't care to do something.
It's never been so easy to stand out. Was that
Never
Dana
been
White?
Yeah.
Dana White goes, it is so fucking easy to stand out.
Literally.
Like, yeah. Sorry, your mum's going to grill me for swearing.
I've been swearing all pod. Sorry.
She doesn't like it.
Mate, she swears more. She swears like a
Really?
sailor.
I swear she said she doesn't like you swearing.
Yeah, on podcast.
Because I dug up the conversation you had.
Yeah.
That you had with her on Sunday Run, I think it was.
Yeah, good
I
memory.
found that on YouTube.
Nice, yeah.
And I think she said something about you swearing.
She rips into me for swearing, but she says, you sound so uneducated.
Really?
I said, Mum, I barely got through school. It's a good...
You're true, you're right.
Yeah.
Tom Brady said, to be successful in anything, the truth is you don't have to be special. You just have to be what most people aren't, consistent, determined, and willing to work for it. I think that sums us up pretty well, man.
Mm-hmm.
And not in a bad way.
No, for sure.
But I mean, if it weren't for those things, who knows? And then this is bring it back to you. Who knows where you'd be?
100%. Yeah. Hard work for sure. I think as well, just like having a little bit of EQ goes a long way in this world. And a lot of people don't have that. Like so many people that both you and I would know, just like no EQ whatsoever. Like I couldn't tell. Like, if someone's bawling their eyes out across the table from them, they'd be like, wait, are you sad? You know? So I think that's another big proponent as well. But yeah, the hard work and it beats talent at the end of the day.
Talk to me about the hardest or the time in which you were like, I really need to like, you know, be consistent or this thing isn't going to work.
Yeah, that would have been after Big Brother aired and I got just decimated. Like I lost like 50,000 followers, I think. Really? Something like that. Yeah, I went from like 200,000 to like 150, I reckon. Maybe 160 or 70. Anyway, and I just remember like prior to that, I reckon a lot of my worth had been tied to my followers. I'd shot up pretty quickly. And then when you shot, like I was getting invited to all the events. I had so many girls coming at me. The socials were flying and then you lose it all. You're like, it was all fake. So probably then when I'd lost all these followers and I was like, right, I need to lock in. But again, it was the best lesson I've ever had because I feel like if that were to happen again, like I know what I need to do to, build my account back up, which is essentially my job. So that it would have been that time, that post Big Brother weird time.
I remember you saying that they took control of your account as well.
Yep.
Okay, oh man.
Brutal.
That's been hard.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I signed the contract, I had 14,000 followers. When I came off the show and started running and making content, I grew to about 200. And then the show aired a year later and it plummeted.
Were you second guessing yourself a lot during that time?
Yeah, maybe. I think so. At times, yeah. I'd say so. Like, because you start to wonder, like, oh, it's just a flash in the pan. Like, it's not actually, you know, you're not who you thought you were. But again, good people around you.
Were you getting recognised a lot during that time, or?
A little bit, yeah. Every now and then.
Yeah.
I'd say if the thing is, like, if you make social media, if you do content and you get any kind of views, if you go out to a pub and people are sinking piss, then everyone who has seen your video will, like, a lot of people, once they've had a bit of liquid courage, like, they'll be like, oh, hey, I love your videos. I find all that, like, appreciate it when it happens, but it's kind of like a little bit fake because they've just seen a video, they're pissed. I'd say something as well if I saw someone I was pissed. But the amazing ones are like when people are sober, they come up to you and they're like, oh, you got me running.
Have you had that?
Couple times, yeah, multiple times. It's amazing. It's the best feeling ever. And it does, like, I'll also get messages and they don't register that it's a person sometimes. It's the world of social media can be so toxic in that it can all just become kind of numbers. It's like, oh, you just get a message, hey, you made me start running and I want to thank you for that. Far out, like, running's actually changed my life personally, so hopefully it's done the same for them. But when someone comes up to you in person and says that, you can really feel like the love.
I think Chris, when you spoke to him, he talks about impact.
Yep.
So would that be essentially what you're trying to say there as well? It's like, I do what I do just so I can impact as many people as possible.
Absolutely. And that's where everything comes in. Like, that's where the app comes in as well. Is like, we genuinely created Interval to have impact and show people how to run in a more palatable, digestible format that's not this, high level, like, thing to understand. It's like, it literally tells you how to run, how long, how fast, and here's a video of what it should look like when you're running, instead of like talking about, heart rate zones and that kind of thing. So yeah, that's my whole thing.
I think your willingness to say, like, to outsource, I guess, to people better than you. I think you even said in another podcast that Interval wasn't even, like, you were presented with a number of ideas and Interval was the one that clicked.
Not even a number of ideas. What happened was I live with this bloody genius called Hess, or Jordan Hesse. I should give his full name. Jordan, and he is he's in, like, software development. He hadn't created an app yet. And he goes, hey, I've, like, half built this app. Take a look at it. And it was like the Sunday Runner. And looking back, it looked awful. But, like, for what we knew at the time, it looked amazing. And I was like, yes, let's go. And so he's my business partner now.
You spoke about iterations before.
Yeah.
And Sunday Run, and what do you think have brought on the iterations? Was it just an involvement of you as a person, do you think?
Yeah, I'd say, absolutely. It's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Just evolving, growing up a little bit and understanding business. Sunday Runs, you're never going to be able to, what's the name that title?
Was it hard to move on though?
Nah, not really. You're just evolving. Like, you're not leaving everything and everyone behind. Literally just evolving, changing a few names. And then when you see, like, a design pack come through for a new name, it looks amazing. Like, you're like, oh, I can just see the future here.
When Interval started getting developed, what was that like? And do you want to, have you assume someone listening to this might not even know what it is?
Yeah, sure. So Interval is it's essentially a running coaching app, but we've completely kind of changed the whole format of it. So it's like, it's got a game inside Interval, which is called Terra. And you can kind of run around the block, claim territory. And then if someone else runs through that territory, they now own it. And then we've got a full community section and, like, full programming section. It's been amazing. Like, we've got about 50,000 downloads in, I'd say in a year, but it's actually, had 8,000 downloads and then we released Terra and now we're at about 50 in the space of like 4 weeks. So it's growing really nicely, and we essentially just want to make running fun and easy, and that sounds very cliche, but at the end of the day, that's like exactly what we're doing. We're getting people running who used to like running, now hate it, and they're like, wait, this is a way I can actually enjoy it. So yeah.
What you said before is interesting though. So building all of this is obviously, there's a degree of stress. You said yesterday.
Huge, yeah.
Can you provide an insight into what that thought process is like?
So we don't have any investors.
Okay.
It's just Hess and myself.
Okay.
So, and Josh, my coach, has a bit of equity as well. So it's literally up to us to fund it. And for those that know apps, they're really expensive. Like just subscriptions, they're pretty spenny. And then like, you know, if you get a whole new design package, it's like 20 grand just straight up. So yeah, in the last year I've invested so much money. And that's all the money I make from doing brand deals and stuff. So we're redlining, no doubt. Like it's pretty tight, and that's where the stress comes from.
Is it still easy to keep going though?
Yeah, there's no questions. It's like literally, no joke, Hess and I would be like happily living in a 1-bedroom apartment with beds on the ground and a desk. Like it's not even a question. He is so in. Like I'm so lucky. I've had business partners in the past. I'm so lucky to have someone like Hess who is so locked in, so like in on the dream, and like this is what we're doing, and does it all with a smile as well. So yeah.
What drives you to? Oh man, why are you so sure that you would live like that? I'm trying to think of the right way to describe it, but like, what are you actually chasing?
It's a good question. Well, I think down to the day-to-day, it's like these small little things. It's like if we just do this, if we do that, if we improve this, improve that, then we'll improve in this area. Like it's just gamified life. You know, it's like a video game, but in life. So that's first thing. And then long-term, I think it's like we're so lucky that on the Interval account, we get to see the back end of people messaging us going like, you've changed my life. And it's like, so if we've changed this many people's lives and we've only been in the hands of X amount of people, imagine if we can get into the hands, if we can become a Strava level, if we can become, you know, like that is crazy to see. Like it's got my mum running. She's not a runner. So it's like, imagine how many people's lives we can affect and positively change and give them the beauty of running. And I know that sounds cliche, and of course I have to say that, but like running will change your life if you can do it correctly.
I think my question was that question. That's a good topic you brought up. But what I meant by what are you chasing was like the end goal. Like, do you see it as an evolving goal? Like you establish this and do something else, or?
Oh, I mean, I could see Interval just being our thing for the rest of time. You know,
amazing. Like
we're not in it to just like make a quick buck because there are so many better ways to make money. Like I remember when I launched Interval, this comes back to the Tall Poppy scene. Well, actually, I don't know if it's Tall Poppy, but call it whatever you want. But like launched Interval and like had these people like just tearing it apart. Like they downloaded it they'd never used it, we can see from the back end, to give us a bad review. It's like, how good's Australia? It's unreal.
I'm laughing.
Yeah.
I'm laughing. You said in another conversation, someone downloaded it and commented, I tore my ACL because of this.
Yeah.
It's not even out, bro.
Yeah, we haven't even launched it. Yeah. That was one of the reviews before we'd even launched. Yeah. It's like, you're coming from so far back. So a lot of people would think it's just like, it's just a quick buck. It is not. If you're releasing an app, it is not a quick buck. Firstly, it's like a 10-year buck. But with what I've just invested this year, I could make so much more money from investing that elsewhere. So yeah, I'd say like, I think both Hess and I just see this serious, amazing like opportunity where him and I, not only are we business partners, we're also mates now. And we can, you know, create this amazing product and probably live off it, and then also affect people's lives.
I think you talked about it in another conversation as well, like being driven by, you know, the 10, 20-year goal. And obviously at the 20-year goal, there's an element of financial freedom. I think that's another thing that people aren't really too willing to talk about too much.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's something that up until now that I was like, I'm not driven by money. I'm just doing this because I like it. And then when you really strip it back, obviously there's an element of impact as well, but I think what most people are chasing, and forgive me if you think, or correct me if you think they're wrong, but it's like it's the freedom.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what it is. And that's exactly what, I'd say we're striving for in our personal, like from a personal perspective, is like exactly that freedom.
Oprah Winfrey said, the biggest adventure you can take is to live the life of your dreams. Would you see the life you're living now as looking back 5 years ago, let's just say? I mean, you're a veteran in the content game.
Content game.
Would you see this as a life of your dreams?
100%, yeah.
How so?
I'm so aware this is the best time in my life. Like right now, the last year, in the next few years ahead, I live in a 5-guy share house that is like low-key a mansion. And we're not rich, but because there's 5 of us, we can split it up pretty easily. I live with 4 other incredible like mates, but also guys who are like looking to work and grind, which is just elite. And then on top of that, like I've got this incredible girlfriend, a great family around me, and I'm earning enough money where I can go to Coles and not have to look at kind of the price of things, if that makes sense. I'm not saying I'm rich, but like I can, within reason, like I can probably buy things where I'm comfortable and I'm not stressing about cash all the time. So, and then on top of that, like we're grinding intervals. So it's like, it's so much fun just trying to keep leveling up, and you're doing it with mates. Hess and I say it all the time. Like we're so aware that these are the times we're going to look back on one day and go, remember that.
Oh, so true, man. I had someone in here who sat in that seat, and they were like you need to remember like where you came from. You need to, and it's not any like. And I think Chris talked about it. Chris Williamson talked about how he wished he filmed more when he was going through the
Yeah, I've heard that.
And you look at this setup, and it's good. It's a good setup, but it's not
great setup.
It's not Chris Williamson level, but you know what I mean. The message is there is that the journey is what matters almost. But I don't think just reflecting on it now, I don't think many people reflect on where they are now. It's like they're sort of pushing so far into the future, and maybe I'm just thinking that because it's what I'm thinking. It's like, who cares about the now when what you're striving for is almost like the most exciting thing?
Yeah, you got to be careful of that. Of course, what you're striving for. But I think you come to learn, you actually can't almost never get there. Like there's always going to be something else. For me, I remember, let's say I had 10,000 followers. I remember saying, I just want 100,000 and then I'll be stoked. 200,000 it's just, you always want more. So you have to step in front of that mindset, I think. And you should always, you always want more, of course. And that's what drives you. You're not just going to sit in a paddock all day and stare at the stars and go, how lucky am I? Like you need purpose and goals give us purpose.
That girl who messaged me the other day, I said to her, having 1,000 followers, hitting 1,000, 100% felt better than 30. 100%. I remember when I hit 1,000, I was like, dude, I'm the man.
I'm on.
And I remember refreshing because I was with friends when I hit 1,000.
Yeah, nice.
And you look back on it, and I'm embarrassed. Like, this is like, they're just like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember the video popped and I was like, look at my phone. Fucking followers. It's followers.
That's awesome.
And then you look back on it and you're like, this is just like, are these people even real?
Yeah.
Like half of them. And then you get like, and then comes the people that are like, oh, your life must be so different. And then it's like, no, my life isn't different.
No different. Yeah.
My life doesn't change at all.
No.
That's exciting what you're building there, man.
Thank you. Yeah. We're stoked with it. We're really happy. And it's got a long way to go, but
I was going to say, talk about that. Like, there's a lot more to do by the sounds of it.
So much to do. There's always something to do. But particularly at the moment, like we've got this whole new kind of user base, and we need to create synergy across the whole app, and it's just a lot to think about, but we're loving it.
Tom Brady also said, I always try to do as much as I can do. I'm never a person that does not enough because I'd regret not doing enough, and I think I probably could have done more. When I look for these quotes, I try and relate it back, or I think of quotes that might resonate with that person. And it sounds like, just based off what other people have said about you, that is something that you would resonate with.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. What was the gist of the quote again?
I always try to do as much as I can do.
Yeah.
I'm never a person that does not enough because I'd regret not doing enough and think I probably could have done more.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's good. It's good doing that. But I think you can also fall into the trap of doing work for the sake of it, like to feel comfortable, just like constantly working to just like kind of fill a void almost. But yeah, it's nice being busy, isn't it?
Has that ever happened to you when you just feel like you're working for the fun of it?
For sure. Or just like for the sake of it. Yeah. Like you're just trying to, like, I'm grinding. I'm meant to be grinding. It's like, what are you doing? you're not work. Is this going to move the needle?
Yeah.
That's a question Hess and I always ask ourselves. Like, all right, today, what are we working on? This and this. Is that going to move the needle? Probably not. Let's drop that. Focus on this.
Does that mean your life is almost like every decision or action then is an opportunity cost? Like, do you...
100%.
Yeah.
It's a great way to look at it.
Yeah. I view that now as well.
Absolutely. Within reason.
Yeah.
After 5 o'clock, I'm switched off though.
Yeah.
I leave that shit up like in the office almost.
Yeah. I think it's a good, and it's something as I evolve, because I'm only 12 months in. So like I'm definitely still getting punched around with this whole journey.
Nice.
I'm starting to realize that maybe taking a step back and being less hard on yourself is probably the best way to grow.
Yeah, well, you need to be in it for the long term.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you can keep that cadence. Well, you might be able to, but you can't keep like a high level of cadence up all the time. You're just going to burn out. Trust me.
I know. I wanted to, honestly, I was like, I don't know if I want to do pods anymore.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm not Joe Rogan.
Yeah. But that's the thing of Joe Rogan, isn't it? It's like he literally just like, it's just so easy for him. Like he's limited all his barriers of entry. Yeah. So it's just, he just has to rock up. Oh, hey, how are you?
Well, Stephen spoke about it on that conversation with Chris as well. He spoke about the fact that he has looked forward so far that he can just do this forever. Like I think you speak about the podcast, like if you do 20, you're in the top 1%. And then Stephen flipped it back on Chris and said, how many people have done it for 15 years? And it's like a lot of people set things up, and this is potentially leeway into what you're building, but a lot of people set things up, but they don't think, or they don't plan for that time ahead. And Stephen went back and said, oh, well, I've set up my podcast in a way that it can operate for 15 years. You're like, my team are going to grow older, but everything is just so oiled and dialed in. So it sounds like your acknowledgement of the fact that your business is, is exciting where you are, but there's still a long way to go, is a similar mindset as well.
Yeah, for sure. And in it for the long game, if you're trying to create something to like exit within 2 years, like you can almost Band-Aid solution everything, I reckon, and just patch it all together and then just put it on the market. Whereas like if you're in it for the long term, like you're trying to check every nut and bolt, make sure it's all tight and go from there.
What excites you of the long term, by the long term?
That's a good question. Well, firstly, like I'm so excited by travel in terms of like with the business and trying to get Interval globally. And as well, excited to rustle some feathers, like excited to piss off some big brands and get in the industry and annoy a few people. I think it's the best way to go about it. And I think we've got everything that it takes to be able to do that. So I'm most excited for that as well.
This is an interesting question, man. What would the 85-year-old you want you to do tomorrow?
That's a good question. And I don't know what the answer is like in terms of what would I do tomorrow. But I remember being in Europe with Jesse and like, the days we'd be like, oh, I better not drink today. Like just got to, watch the rig and stuff. Within a month of being back from Europe, I was going, why the fuck did I not have a beer in Montenegro when I was sitting by the water? I was like, for what? Like, who do I think I am? So, I mean, not that it has to come down to alcohol or anything, but that thing of just when you're young, live it up a little. Don't like have a little bit of a laugh now and then, and don't be too intense about it. Is what I try and live by.
That hit me in the face. I'm intense, but there's no...
Intensity is good. Like you can, but I think knowing when to switch it on and off is really important. And like I've been in the content game for 5 years or so. The only reason I can be in this game for a long period of time is being able to switch it on and off.
I think the reason why I'm finding it hard to switch off because I've seen the flip side to switching it off. And someone said it. It was Stephen as well, Stephen Bartlett. I listen to him a lot, obviously. It's like if you didn't brush your teeth for 5 days, like no one would notice. But if you didn't brush your teeth for 365 days, you'd be screaming on the dental bed.
Of course.
And it's like when did that it happened today? And it's like someone said the missing a habit once is a mistake. Missing a habit twice is the start of a new habit.
But you need to give yourself more credit, as if you're going to have a beer and then go on a 4-year bender.
Of course.
Like, or go out for dinner with your mates or whatever. You're going to wake up the next day. Hey, you might wake up a bit dusty. Good. Embrace it. You're young. You should. But then you're going to get back to it.
Would that be your... Well, I'm not going to answer the question for you, but what would be your advice for someone then that is hard on themselves?
Yeah, I think it's perspective. It's exactly what I just said. Like, put in the work. Yes, I'm so for putting in the work, but feeding into the toxic culture of like this full grind set thing that's developed by people who I don't think even live it. Like you have to question if they actually live the life that they're saying they are, because 90% of the time they're not. So it's like, do your work and work to your best ability, but also enjoy like the fruits of life. Like I reckon I'd get more in terms of my career out of going for 4 beers on a Saturday Arvo with Jesse than I would doing a 10K jog.
What's that?
10K jog's not going to do anything for my fitness. The 4 beers will do heaps for my social battery, for my drive come Monday, for my joy of life, and all of that adds into, becoming prolific in your area.
Does it feel like, what does it feel like to give that advice? Because obviously you've gone through a bit to actually acknowledge that. And it's something I'm still going through.
Yeah.
And I used to talk about young. I'm 30 this year.
Yeah.
So like I'm a few years ahead of you, so.
Not too far yet.
But there's a part of me that's like, I feel like I've left it too late.
Oh, it's shit mindset. Yeah. What was your question? Sorry. How do I feel about giving the advice?
Yeah, I mean, like, because obviously you've been...
Sure.
Yeah, I acknowledge the fact you're a veteran in the content game. And I know it's a shit mindset. And I am evolving. But...
Of course, yeah.
When you do 60 podcasts in a relatively short amount of time and your mindset at the start compared to what it was like at the end is different, you're forced to view things differently. And that has come with the intense overthinking.
Yeah.
It's like, where do I want to be? What am I doing?
What am I doing?
Which is why you talk about shit mindset. I know it's not good. Something I'm just learning though.
I think it comes from my advice comes from, like I've done that, like the full lock-in thing. Honestly, not that much. Like it doesn't really align with me, but I've been around people who have done that. And like I've lived with people who do it, like, or have done it. Like, and it always, it starts out here and it comes back with GST. You're going to have to blow out whatever that blowout looks like. It might be a mental breakdown. It might be a 4-day bender. I don't know. But you see how it works. And it's like, the 100 or nothing mindset does not, I don't think it lasts forever. So you got to figure out how that looks. And mate, you're only a year into this. It's great that you're so locked in.
This past week though, I acknowledged that I needed to get back into my routine and like get up early and do this thing. And I tell you what, but right now compared to where I was at last week, different human.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Oh, routine's brilliant.
Routine and getting in the sauna and the ice bath. And you are never, I think someone said, I saw it the other day, like health and wellness is like a cheat code to just life.
Oh, 100%.
And I've learned now, I will never, and I'm sure you're the same, never compromise on feeling good. Because if you are hammering nonstop, you are not feeling good.
Absolutely.
If you're having 4 or 5 hours of sleep, I don't care who you are. I mean, and it comes back to sustainability and thinking long term, like exactly what we've been speaking about before.
Yeah.
If you're not thinking like that, then
100%.
that's a short-term mindset.
I actually think it's a bit of a bell curve as well of like the wellness thing. It's like there is an amount that you can do, should do, will improve your life, but it actually gets to a point where it becomes your life. And I think that's when it actually becomes quite negative. You look at Brian Johnson, who's like the longevity guy. Really, I think he's doing cool stuff. Like, props to him. Like, that's his obsession, go king. But like for 99.95% of us, you're just wasting life to me. Like, for what? You know, like what's the point in living to 120 if firstly you got no one by you on the way, and then also you've just like stayed inside all day and done your exact same routine every single day. Like, yeah, I think you want to find that balance.
I locked in like him on sleep once. Like I went on an absolute rampage and I was like, I want to have the best sleep ever.
Yeah.
I went to bed at like 7:30
Nice.
for like months. And I was like number 3 in Australia on sleep. Like I was just locked. And I'm like, hell, I want to meet these people.
Yeah, who's number 1 and 2?
I was like him, I saw him. And then he just gets like, yeah, you talk about locking. I mean, you can see I get like obsessive on things.
Same, to be
And
honest.
you just get tired.
Yeah. Push people away, you get tired. Of course. Yeah, I think as well, you know, like I'd absolutely lock in. I'm not trying to make it sound like I don't do anything, but it's just you gotta kind of go in and out of it sometimes, you know.
You said in another conversation, my dad's always been a huge advocate for adding value and helping improve people's lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you think you've done that?
Well, me personally, I think, I think I've actually helped hopefully a lot of younger people who have been in the same situation as me in terms of like learning difficulties, not the smartest, and then just kind of being able to stand up from it. That one first and foremost. I think that's like means a lot to my podcasts that I used to do, all 4 of them. Like I always spoke about that stuff.
When you say not the smartest though,
you know, like
I know what you mean.
Yeah, like academically, not the smartest. Yeah. You're dead right. I shouldn't say it like that. Yeah. So I think that's a big one for me. And then on top of that, also in the running and fitness space, I think I'm really proud of like my achievements. I have a long way to go, but I'd say just like kind of getting people out running is always amazing to me.
Does it feel real your life? I mean, that's a ridiculous question, but like it almost comes back to looking to where you were at 14. That's sort of what I meant.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I imagine if I met myself at 14.
What would you say?
What would I? How'd I feel? I think I'd be pretty.
Yourself questions.
I'd be I'd be pretty stoked with it. I'd be happy. I'm done pretty well, but as well, I think it would have made me a bit more of a menace if I saw myself now at 14, because I think I needed that fear at times. I think it was quite good for me.
Yeah, I asked someone, you almost don't want to look forward. No,
Exactly.
No, you do, but I don't think there'd be anything good that would come out of looking forward.
Yeah.
Like you need, and that's something that's evolved for me as well. It's like, it's impossible to apply yourself so much at something and for it not to work out.
Yeah.
Unless, it depends. It depends. You know, you talk about it before, acknowledging when you perhaps need to give something up.
Yeah.
But if you just like wholeheartedly believe, and obviously there's been people in the world that have believed in things that didn't work out. But you look at the majority, I think Stephen said it as well, like you look at the people that have achieved a lot in the world and they just have a serious obsession with like trying to change something.
Yeah, absolutely. And often a lot of people who are ultra successful like come from pretty rough backgrounds. Like there's something they're trying to prove. That doesn't really excite me that much, being the whole like, you know, I just want to be able to get through.
This whole, trying to prove things as well.
Yeah.
You know, I still sort of feel that, but that's perhaps an involvement of.
Sure. Yeah.
Has that been something that you wanted to do at the start? Like prove things or prove others wrong?
I Actually, you know what? I honestly find I work better if I'm kind of back up against the wall. Like, let's say when we launched Interval and we had some tosser share us on his story and say, there's just another influencer app. No one use it. They're unqualified. I was like, right, we needed that. Game on. Like, we're here to prove now.
Do you think you were always putting your real self out on social media? Or is there a time that you were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think so. I'm trying to think when I wasn't. Yeah, always tried to be authentic. I think just left bits out, like the boring bits, which like, obviously it's just a highlight reel, social media.
I saw something the other day. It said you should just be yourself, not because it will make you more likable. It won't. But because it's only by being yourself that you'll find people who like you for you, who like you for who you really are, rather than for someone you're pretending to be.
Yeah.
And I thought that would resonate with you as well.
And like, I mean, I see people who live lies. Like, I know people who like lie about their breakfast. And you're like, why are you lying? I couldn't care less. It's like,
why would they do that?
Why? Yeah, like, but they're just living, and you can just see the stress in them trying to recover their lies. They're trying to live, like, it's like, oh man, if you just told me the honest answer, your life would be so much easier. See it all the time.
The highlight reel. Highlight reel. Yeah, that's something that's something I'm trying to think about as well. Like, how do you show the more personal side of things? It's hard, man.
I think there's also a balance, because you need your content to be watchable. Otherwise, no one's going to watch it. Like, if you're doing an inspirational quote, everything, and it's like the deepest, it loses its effect, doesn't it? So a bit of lighthearted stuff is always nice, I find. That's what I love about doing the podcast with Ferg. It's like, it's just top level, just easy, chill. We have a laugh. We're not going to get cancelled from it.
Don't do weeks of research.
No, not at all.
Chris Williamson said, it's more socially acceptable to be our biggest critic than it is to be our biggest cheerleader.
Particularly in Australia.
Yep. Sounds like you've come to terms with that. You're not as critical on yourself anymore.
I'd say
depends on the situation.
It depends on the situation, sure. In regards to like academic stuff, but I still do it today, mate. Like, I still constantly rip myself around people, or
Do you think that'll change?
Maybe.
And why are you doing that? Do you think?
Just I think sometimes I can sense, like, if someone's about to make a joke or something in regards to like my
line of work.
Line of work, absolutely. It's a great one. And then also just like, if I have to read out a title of a movie, let's say, in front of people, I will panic 100%. Yeah, because I know I'm going to muck it up, and I know it comes with laughs. So I'll get ahead of the curve and take the piss out of myself before I do that.
Like, is that because you can't pronounce it right, or you just...
I just can't read. Like, I'm not good at reading. I
remember you saying on the comedy thing you did that you couldn't even see your...
Yeah.
That must have been hard.
Tough. That's why it was so tough. Like, I got up there, I cannot see a thing, and then you're trying to read it out. But I was lucky that I'd practiced enough that I just needed to get each line.
Building confidence in yourself. I heard someone say that a lack of confidence killed more dreams than a lack of confidence ever did. Despite what you just said before, it sounds like you still are incredibly confident on yourself, though.
Oh, I back myself to the hills, 100%. No doubt. I mean, what I was talking about before is more just like small little acute things where I can kind of just get ahead of the curve before someone takes the piss out of me, if that makes sense. And it's all good fun. But yeah, I totally back myself. I back the people around me, and I back my ability to create relationships in kind of places that I need.
Your mum said that.
Yeah, we're big on, like, my whole family is huge on the EQ side. Like emotional intelligence will just get you so far in life.
Could you see yourself doing and getting up on stage and speaking one day eventually? Yeah,
for sure. If I had a compelling enough, story, absolutely, for sure. It's like the question is like, if you were to write a book, like, what would it be about? I don't know what that would be. I think it'd be something in like the, you know, like going up against the tall poppy stuff would be mine. Because it's so prevalent here in Australia, and if you let it rock you, it will just decimate.
What is that? What do you think? What's your view of like tall poppy syndrome in Australia?
Well, I think it's very prevalent. I think it's there, but I think it's great if, as I said before, like if you want to, no one else is building, so you may as well lock in. Like, if you can get past that thing of caring what people think, like you're so far ahead in life.
You're a good thinker, man. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
This has been a good chat.
It's great.
I did forewarn. Have a nice little ending. So you spoke about your family a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe give, before I read this out, maybe give, because like you've obviously spoken about what they did to you and the belief they sort of instilled in you. If they're listening to this in 5 years,
Sure.
what would you want to say to them? Or even now?
Parents?
Like, parents, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they know, like they know everything I'm about to say, but just I think as I get older and I see the relationship some of my other friends have with their parents, I am so grateful for the relationship I have with mine. We're like kind of friends, you know, they're definitely still my parents, but I'll talk about literally anything and everything with them. They've given me relationship advice. They've, you know, so much. So I think, I am a direct representation of the way they parented me. And I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means, and I've got a lot of work to do. But as I'd say any success that I've had in terms of my career and stuff is largely due to them. So I'm also just like so thankful for the fact that I had them as parents, particularly in my younger years, because they stuck by me. And, you know, when, you know, there's a panel of 10 teachers saying if he doesn't get on Ritalin, we're kicking him out. And I remember my mum flying off the hook going, you like say that again to me. And it's like, if I didn't have parents like that who just backed me, like I'd probably be in Deloitte on a shit ton of, you know, study drugs, just grinding through on a life I hate. So it's to mum and dad, and shout out to them.
It's the truth, man. Like there's so many, and you spoke about it before, like how many are out there that hate what they do.
Absolutely.
Too many. And I'm intrinsically aware of that because I actually have an electronic scooter.
Nice.
Mate, I hate sitting in traffic. I'm sure you're the same.
I'm
sure you're the same.
I hate it. Yeah.
I'm like, remember sitting in traffic one day and I'm like, this guy scoots past me in traffic and he's on a scooter.
I need one of those. Get me one of those.
So go in, but obviously I'm a people, because I was a pool lifeguard for 8 years.
Oh, nice.
So I'm a people watcher by nature.
I'm
just brought up on watching, observing people. But when I am stopping though, you can't help but look at people, and it's probably amplified on a train or something. Like I remember used to go on the train. I'm so glad I don't get on the train anymore because it's not. I'll get on a train if I really desperately need to, but it's been a long time because like my relationship on the train, people being on the train is just seeing people sitting there just like completely miserable. The energy and the aura in the train actually.
Yeah, not it.
It's not it.
It's not it.
It's been an amazing chat, man. I'm going to read this out to you. Before I did a lot of homework for this chat. Part of that research involved me typing your name in with your mum's, and I actually dug up her website.
Nice.
And I'm not sure if you've ever looked at that website.
Never.
You haven't looked at that website?
No.
She used to do some...
What's she got
She
up
used
there?
to do some biography, not biographies, but like letters.
Yeah.
And I typed in, like I said, Louis and Jack Phillips, and this is the thing that popped up. And it's like a letter that she wrote to herself in 2017, I think it was.
Oh, wow.
Some wouldn't call me Mother of the Year in 2016. I'm almost 17,000 kilometres away from Madeline and Lewis, my two stunning children. in brackets, young adults, probably a better description at 19 and 17 years respectively. However, to me, they will always be my babies. As I embark on an indulgent opportunity of further knowledge seeking. Selfish, many think so, but here's the thing. Everything I do, everything I learn, I do for them. The access to opportunities like attending Harvard, meeting and hearing from incredible people from other parts of the world are gifts I can share. For Louis, you too can be and do anything you want. And if at some stage you choose to take on the role of being the main carer of your small children, like your amazing father did when my job took us to Asia, expect to be judged. Pay no attention to this. Your kids deserve having their dad present in their lives. Demonstrating caring and warmth may be stereotypical female tendencies, but you too will be valued greatly by the people who matter, your family, by being around. Essentially, leadership and powership has nothing to do with your title. It has nothing to do with authority, seniority, and gender either. It is the art of persuasion and the ability to motivate others to make a difference. And every single one of us is capable of this, men and women. Thank you, Maddie and Louis, for being the most treasured gifts I could have ever received. You make me very happy and so very proud.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's a good one, isn't it?
How'd you even find that? That's good. I've never heard that before. You dug that up well, and it's so. I see it so much in everything that mum and dad does is for us. You know, very rarely do they do stuff for themselves, and both my sister and I are so lucky to have them. Even my dad gave up his career to essentially raise my sister and I because mum's earning capacity was bigger. And I see that all the time. Like I don't know if I could do that. It's pretty amazing. And he cops it sometimes. Not even cops. He'll get a comment every now and then, which is always in jest. But I listen to some of those comments. It's like, oh yeah, he's got the best life. Just raise the kids. It's like, fuck. It just completely undermines what he's done. And it's always from people who have kids who have all been to jail and are a mess. But
more than meets the eye.
Yeah. So yeah. If I've got a lot out of this podcast, but it's definitely how lucky I am.
Good way to end it, brother. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks
Let's do
for
another
having me,
one of
mate.
these in the studio one day.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Great work.
Brother. So good.
Awesome, bro. You're
Yeah.
great. You're really talented at that.
Really?
Yeah. That flowed so nicely. I had a lot of Joe Rogan thoughts there.
Really?
Yeah.
Serious?
Dead set. 'Cause
Yeah.
I saw my time. I was like, wow, we've been
Yeah,
going
yeah.
that long.
Yeah.
That's fine.